All right, we're doing it live. Another Friends of Jeff episode. This is number 10, Jason.
Wow. Is that some sort of anniversary, or what are we or a milestone, I should say? What are we doing?
Yeah, I think so. I think we should celebrate. We should probably talk Chicago Bears to celebrate, since there was nothing to celebrate on the Chicago Bears side this time.
Well, if you want to bring the mood down, I guess we can, because
Hey,
God,
10 episodes. I think I read a stat. Most podcasts don't last more than 7. And so we've beat the odds.
Well, that's good. I mean, we've survived a hurricane, an election, and above all that, a really, really piss poor football season for our guys. Compared to what all was hoped for at the beginning of the year. We had lots of hope, and it has really turned into not really anything.
Yeah, not good. I don't know if I should be pleasantly surprised that they didn't find a creative way to lose this game, other than just they got run out of the gym in the first quarter, and the game was over already at that point.
Well, yeah.
Like, it wasn't any secret. Like, it wasn't like a blocked field goal. It wasn't like an interception return for a touchdown. It was just a plain got punched in the mouth multiple times and didn't have anything to respond with.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically a meeting at the bike racks at 3:00 after school and just getting your ass absolutely handed to you over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had no answers for George Kittle in the first half.
No, they had no answers for anything in the first half, really. I mean, they only ran 17 plays compared to Frisco's 37. They had 1 first down compared to 10. I mean, it was 24-0 at half, and the Bears had all 4 total yards at halftime. 4.
Yeah. 4 yards total and a half. And the plus minus was 315 on yardage.
Yes.
So 49ers are running away with it. I think at one point, well, probably multiple points throughout this game, the Bears had fewer total yards than San Francisco had points on the board. Like, at one point, it was 14-0, and the Bears only had 9 yards.
Well, let's see. The Bears had 4 yards, and they punted 5 times. So, and this goes back to Caleb texting Torrey Taylor after the draft saying, hey, you're not going to have to punt that much this year. Torrey Taylor's punted plenty.
Yeah.
Plenty. And he's eating his words just like I ate mine when I said the Bears would win 11 games. But, it's just, I mean, the Niners, I think it's 7. Yeah.
Didn't back it up on the field.
Niners had 7 plays of 20 yards or more in the first half. Caleb in the first half was sacked 4 more times. I think it was 7 in the entire game. Keenan Allen had another drop. DJ Moore had a drop. The defense, they believe it or not, and people are going to shoot me for saying this, but I actually believe they missed Eberflus on defense today.
I was following the subreddit for Chicago Bears, the game thread on this, and there were a couple people who responded that way as well. I don't think it would have mattered at the end of the day. The defense looked awful. They didn't make any adjustments until halftime. And in the meantime, it looked like they were playing a very basic cover 2 defense, maybe a cover 3, and the middle of the field was open all the time.
Yeah. But it's like, did they watch any film? I mean, you're telling me you're going to allow Brock Purdy to light you up left and right? I mean, Brock Purdy, yeah, he's a good quarterback, but he's not Josh Allen. He's not Patrick Mahomes.
Nobody's Josh Allen right now. That guy is otherworldly this year.
We'll discuss him later, but he's no Matthew Stafford. He's just not a guy who's going to carve up a defense on a regular basis. And I mean, they made Purdy look like Tom Brady today. He
carved them up big.
Yeah,
1 of 25, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he had a couple scrambles there as well, but the defense not good. The offense terrible. Again, came out with no firepower whatsoever, couldn't figure things out. And then they did what they always have done this year, is they come out that first drive out of the halftime into the third quarter, and they look decent.
Yes.
And they score, and they put up more yards on that drive than they did the entire first half. Okay, great. Here we come. It's already 24-0 at that point, so probably not going to matter. Then it's 24-6. I was like, okay, all right. And then Matt drops the 2-point conversion, hits him in the chest. So, it's like same old Bears. Here we go again. It wasn't creative this time, though. It was just a straight up drumming.
Yeah, well, for the record, that was Komet's only target of the game, by the way. So, he was not part of the offense today. And yeah, I mean, then they get the stop on defense that they couldn't get in the first half. And I'm thinking, all right. And then Caleb, started to drive them down the field, and then they just ran into a wall, got stopped, and then any momentum they had going was done. It was over.
So, and how did our friend DeAndre Swift do today? 14 carries, 38 yards, average 2.7.
So, pretty par for the course, actually, on the average. Again, if he doesn't break a run, which he didn't do today, those are his numbers just about every game.
I was very shocked. So I watched most of this game in airports today while I'm traveling, and I missed the turnover. So I think we were taking off at some point, and I missed the Caleb Williams fumble. So I'm not exactly sure what happened there. Give me a recap. Did you see it?
It was okay. So he dropped back. He went to throw the football. It looked like he was either trying to retuck the ball, or he just, for some reason, couldn't throw it around a hand in his face. I couldn't tell that. But the ball, as he was bringing the ball back down towards his body, it kind of came out of his hand, which normally you would think, okay, it's an incomplete pass. But the way it came out of his hand actually went backwards. So it turned that pass into a lateral, because he was trying to hit a guy like in the flat, like a screen pass type thing. But by the time it actually left his hand, it actually went backwards, which turned it into a fumble.
Okay, so
I believe that is...
Maybe it was a creative way to lose a game.
Well, I mean, not like it would have made a difference, but, that's, I think, his first turnover in like 2 months or something like that. But, he was much better. He was much better in the second half. I mean, he still finished, 17 of 23, 134 yards. He had 2 touchdowns to Adunze today, which is a positive. And he had 116.9 rating. So it's not like Caleb was awful, because he wasn't. Now, granted, he took 7 sacks. At least half of them were honestly probably on him. He still needs to get rid of the football. And they were saying it during the game. Caleb, you've got this rocket arm, monster arm. You've got to force the issue sometimes. And if you're going to throw an interception once in a while, you're going to throw an interception once in a while. But just constantly losing yards on sacks because you're afraid to turn the ball over in the NFL, it's not going to work. It's just not good. I mean, I think he's up to 56 sacks taken this year, and
57 now. I think he's definitely number one right now.
I know he's number 3 all time in sacks taken per game by a rookie. A little over 4 on average. So, obviously that's something he's got to work on. We know the offensive line has issues. We also know that in general the offensive line has played better as of late. But when does Caleb excel? When he gets the ball out. We've talked about that in weeks prior. When he gets the ball out in the 2.5 second window that he has, it's good. And that definitely was not the case today.
Yeah, it was just straight up beating my 2 favorite teams playing each other. And, I've been pulling for the Bears because it's been so long since they've been good. But, I knew going into this game it was going to be, look, this is a get-right game for the 49ers, who have not had a great season. They've been so hit by, injuries and everything that's going on, with them. It was a get-right game for the Niners, so good for them. They're probably still on the outside looking in the NFC West with how well Seahawks are playing right now. And then, I think they're still in the hunt technically, but, they just haven't had the year that I think people expected. Most of that's probably injury related this year.
It is. I mean, obviously McCaffrey didn't play today. Jordan Mason didn't play today. I actually think, what was his name? Like Guerrero?
Yeah.
Guerrero. I believe he went down during the game in the second half at one point. So, they're
not
out
before
he
put up 78 yards rushing and a couple touchdowns though. So it doesn't matter who's running in the 49ers
it didn't,
offense. Really,
it didn't seem to matter.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so, they were down to RB4, whoever that was, but, yeah, it didn't matter. I mean, Bears, is the third time this year the Bears have given up over 450 total yards. They did it to Minnesota, they did it to Washington, and now San Francisco. Here's my problem coming out of this week, and I say this a lot. Here's my problem. I have lots of problems with this team, and I'm
Right.
noticing that
It seems like every week.
I know, but it's always something new. So, and even though they don't seem to correct the old problems that I have with them, not that I really matter in the grand scheme, but they wanted Waldron gone. They bitched about Shane Waldron, play calling, all that stuff. They wanted him gone. The Bears fired him. They wanted Eberflus gone. Bitched about his time management, clock management, and how he handled late game situations. They cried, bitched, moaned. They fired him. They wanted Thomas Brown to take over as the head coach. They got that. At what point do we finally look at the roster and say, it's on you guys? Bears management has now done everything that those players have either asked them to do, told them to do, or said they needed to do. And now, I'm sorry, it's on this roster to figure it out. And they've got 4 games to, show some face and figure out who's worthy of being on this team next year. Because there are guys out there that are playing like they could give 2 shits, to be honest with you. At least that's how it looks. That's how it looks to me. Yeah, players definitely have to play.
I mean, there's certain things that, certainly coaching has not been the strength of the Bears this year, but discipline goes both ways, right? These are professional football players, and it is so irritating when you see the same penalties, the same, lack of discipline when it comes to playing. But like they've been playing at this point for 15, 20 years of football, probably. Most of these players, they started at 10 years old, roughly. And I get it. Some of these are bang, bang plays, and, the mental game is just as important as the physical game, but false start and, offensive pass interferences and, miscommunications on blocking assignments and, not understanding pass routes and where people are going to be, right? Playing a super basic defense and, not covering your spots. Like, this is all basic football, and the Bears are not even executing basic football.
Well, like I said last week, they played again. What I refer to as the soft ass zone. It's the basic cover 2,
and the bend don't break, the Lovie Smith,
right? But what's evident to me is they don't communicate within that offense, because the cover 2 works. It's worked, for years. I mean, that was Lovie Smith's defense when the Bears defense was good way back in the day. It was cover 2. But you have to communicate, and it's obvious that they don't communicate when guys move off a guy to stay in the zone, and when somebody else should pick up that guy as he enters his zone. They obviously don't talk, because there are guys open, as you mentioned, Kittle today, in the middle of the field all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And
now part of that might be scheme. Part of it might be players just aren't good enough. They're not fast enough. They're not quick enough on the diagnosis of the play, right? Or whatever it may be. Sure. I get that.
Like they don't react fast enough. Sure, could be.
Right. But I thought today was just a masterclass of a good coach, a good offensive coach. Shanahan is a great offensive mind and a great offensive coach, and completely called a game that obliterated the defense, especially in the first half. There was, even the announcers at some point I was listening, it was like, this is the most basic NFL defense that they'd ever seen, right? And they right. Like, what are we doing here, guys?
Well, you can make an argument that Kyle Shanahan's the best play caller in the game. Him, Ben Johnson up in Detroit. Obviously, that's why the Bears, all the talk is, we got to go get Ben Johnson, or do they make the phone call, and what would it take to trade for Kyle Shanahan, all that kind of stuff? Because that's what the Bears should aspire to. That's the type of coach the Bears should aspire to have, to run the offense that they need to run with the personnel that they have, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only guy, you hear his name all the time, TJ Edwards, 10 more tackles today. He had their only sack. He had 2 tackles for losses. That's one guy I would say was a great signing, but, guys like Edmonds and Sanborn, and you never hear, you don't hear a whole lot of Montez Sweat these days. Dexter got hurt in the middle of the game today. They're missing Andrew Billings. So, this defense, I get that they're probably exhausted because they seem to play a ton during the game because the Bears' time of possession just isn't what it should be. But, good teams have defenses that cover for that. And the Bears just, they struggle, man.
152 total yards to 162. I think, there's some stats in here you look at, like, oh, this is kind of a close game. Well, that's not one of them. Average yards per play, 3.1 for the Bears and 7.4 for the 49ers. Time of possession was pretty close. It was only about a 3.5 minute difference. And on paper, Caleb Williams looked good, but a lot of those were garbage time touchdowns that didn't really matter.
Right.
And throwing 23 passes for 134 yards is sucks. Sorry, dude.
No, I mean what average? Yeah, average pass play is what? Not even 4 yards, barely. So
right.
Just not good. I mean, you want to watch good quarterback play. You want to watch good football, not really good defensive football. But I don't know how much of this Buffalo Rams game you saw today. It
was great. It was on the back of a Delta seat jet.
Oh my God, that game was back and forth. Unbelievable quarterback play. We touched on Josh Allen. I mean, the first guy ever to have 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns in the same game, and they lost.
Mm-hmm.
So,
seven games in a row now with 30 points or more, I think.
Yeah.
Is the stat I saw. I mean, the Buffalo Bills offense has been crazy. That's going to be a heartbreaker when you throw up that many points. And the Rams, who not really known for being that offensive juggernaut at this point, hang tough with them. It was a good game. I turned it off and just kind of listened to music for a little bit. And somebody else had it on their screen too. And I think they were down like 20 points or whatever Buffalo was. I think this doesn't happen, right? And then I kept watching, you can't help but watch other people's screens when you're on a flight. I was like, wait a second, is that actually they're only down 10? I was like, all right. And then it was like, let me flip it back on. And what a game. I mean, if you like offense, that game had it all.
Yeah, 902 total yards. 4 different guys with I
mean, that's just ridiculous to say. 900 yards of offense.
Yeah. 4 different guys, 2 on each team with at least 5 catches and 90+ yards receiving. Nakua, 12 catches, 162 yards for the Rams. And I think he had a rushing touchdown in the game as well. 0 sacks by either team. So offensive lines both played their ass off. It just goes to show you how important, as we've said, offensive line is to a football team.
Yeah, Josh Allen, you already mentioned it. 3 touchdowns passing, 3 rushing. He had 342 yards passing. He also had 82 yards rushing, led their team.
Yeah.
Rushing.
Yeah.
He had more carries than anyone else. James Cook, 6 carries for 20 yards was their running back in quotation marks. But really, it was the Josh Allen show today.
It's crazy.
Is he running away with the MVP?
Could be. I heard a comp today that they are comparing him to. He is the latest version of John Elway. And if you think about it, makes a lot of sense in my mind. I mean, obviously he's got to win a Super Bowl, I think, to complete that comparison, but he plays a lot like John Elway because Elway, throw the ball all over the field. Elway was not afraid to run. Elway was not afraid to take a hit. I think there's a lot of truth in that comparison.
Yeah, I mean, he's having a lights out year, and they've got a great record. I think losing today hurts them because I think now you've got Kansas City who can clinch it. And right now they're down 1 to the Chargers. But let's see, it's 3 minutes and 30 seconds left, and KC is driving, it looks like. Is this just another way of KC being the complete opposite of the Bears and finding yet another way to win a game?
I guess we'll see. I mean, you see Mahomes scrambling a ton in this game. I wish, for me personally, I need him to throw to Kelsey more because I got money on the game. But we gotta get Taylor shots on camera too. I haven't seen her yet. Oh, well, we were already told earlier tonight that that tonight is the final concert of the Eras Tour in Vancouver, Canada. That's why Taylor's
Okay,
not at
so
the
we're
game
not
this
going to
evening.
see Taylor Swift then. Well, whew.
No, we're not going
All
to
right.
see Taylor today, but we will see Taylor, I'm sure, a lot more in the future at Kansas City games. So
Yeah.
looking forward to that. Not really.
Speaking of quarterbacks, I watched Justin Herbert and the Chargers, and I wonder why he's not more successful, because he is a good quarterback. But they've got a good record, but he just like, for whatever reason, it's almost like he's wasted on that team.
Yeah, well, it's like you watch him and he's like, okay, what? It's like he's missing something, but you don't really know what it is.
Right.
Like, he can make all the throws. He's not all that fast, but he doesn't really need to be. Doesn't make dumb decisions. He's a smart QB. He can take hits, runs when he needs to, all of that. But it's like there's something there. Where's the it factor with Justin Herbert, right? Like, you watch Mahomes, there's the it factor.
He's got 13 touchdowns, not including today. I'm not sure. I think he threw one today. 13 touchdowns and only 1 interception on the year. And it's like, where is this guy? Like, why isn't he's got all the tools? He just strikes me as like, if Vanilla was a quarterback, I'd look at Justin Herbert and say, okay, and there's nothing wrong with that, but like, he's a good quarterback that just isn't materializing into the conversation with Josh Allen and Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, right? And all those guys. I just wonder what it is.
Maybe it's San Diego, because I mean, wasn't Phillip Rivers kind of that way too when he was there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and he was a great quarterback too, and still, like, just never. I don't know.
But his team, the Chargers are never really that big of a factor in the playoffs. I mean, they're 8-4 this year, but they're not in the echelon of the Bills or the Chiefs or even Pittsburgh this year. I mean, they're there, but you watch. I mean, Kansas City's going to come back and win this game, and they're going to go 12-1, and Chargers will be 8-5, and they'll make the playoffs as a wild card or whatever, and they're just kind of there.
Yeah, because is that good? Would you be a fan of a team like that where you're good but never great? You're consistently, a one and done in the playoff.
No, that's like football hell. I mean,
so what do you do about a team like that? I mean, they brought in Harbaugh.
Well, what they let go of? They let Keenan Allen go. They let Mike Williams go. They let Austin Eckler go. So they brought in Harbaugh, but they took away a bunch of the skill guys. But what did they do? I mean, they've got 2 of the best tackles in football with Joe Alt and Slater. So it's like they're trying to rebuild the football team, and I believe they're actually better record-wise than they were last year at this point. So, obviously Harbaugh makes a difference, hence why we're all upset that the Bears didn't make a phone call. I think you hit it on the head. They're very vanilla. And I think that's a very accurate saying. There's another first down by KC as they keep the drive going. I'm looking at the stats from tonight's game, and
21 of 30, 213 yards and a touchdown, and a rating of 101. He's got four carries for 12 yards. But I'm looking at the rest of this roster, and like, who the hell are these guys? Like, I don't know any of these names. Like, who's he throwing to?
Yeah, right.
Gus Edwards is their leading. Is their I guess their main running back. But like, I don't know. Maybe this is a retooling year. They got an offensive line, they got a quarterback, and maybe now is like, okay, let's go get our weapons.
Maybe, but boy, it must be nice to have a retooling year and have an 8-5 record and knocking on the door of the playoffs when you're trying to retool.
Yeah, well, that's what a defense and at least a competitive team will do for you, right?
Yeah, I guess. So we talked about the Bears coach search last week.
Well, I would ask you, is Thomas Brown it? Have you seen anything on a Thomas Brown that's like, yeah, this is the guy for us?
Well,
I know it's early, but that's what this podcast is all about: gut reactions and nonsense.
What has he proven to us so far? He has proven that he could adjust a little bit at halftime as far as a play caller goes. Okay. We've seen that. We saw a little of it today. We've seen it in the past. He called 3 very competitive games against the division. As far as him as a head coach leader, obviously today was not a very good showing for him. I'm sure a lot of people, having just watched today, because the way Chicago fans tend to react, would say, oh, Thomas Brown, done. No way. No way in hell could he be our head coach. Not if we're going to get that every week. I mean, I think 1 week is a little hasty to make that decision, but I also think it proves that I personally think that this team needs a brand new voice, brand new leadership, brand new everything. And I'm not even going to rule out Ryan Poles and letting him go at the end of the year. I mean, I know most GMs get 2 coaches, right? They hire one. If he fails, they get to hire a second one. If he fails, then usually he's gone, meaning the GM. Eberflus was Poles' first hire. Do you think ownership would want the new GM and the new coach on the same timeline?
I think it depends on what coaches are available. Let's say they say, hey, Bill Belichick wants to come into town, but Poles is a goner for him to stay there because he wants to be in charge. Belichick wants to be in charge of the entire football operations. I think the Bears would make a move like that. And I don't know if Bill Belichick is the right solution, at this point or whatever it may be. But I think it's a fluid enough situation where the right coach comes along and says, I'm going to bring my guy in. Yeah, I think Poles is on the outside looking in.
Well, I think it goes back to the Bears needing to exhaust every option and look at everything once the year's over, and, that includes, I heard actually, I read today that Belichick is actually talking to the University of North Carolina about their head coaching job. So, that might not be an option, but, I think looking at college coaches, once they're finished with the playoff here, all the NFL guys, and like I said, calling the Niners if they're still not happy with Shanahan, calling the Rams if Sean McVay maybe wants to leave. I don't know if they go offense or.
Like, I think this would be if you could trade for any any coach in the league, who would you trade for? Not just availability wise, like, McVay or whatever it may be, but like, who would you trade for?
Well,
and what would you be willing to give up for a coach?
If any coach in the NFL was available, I'd trade for the coach I'm looking at right now, Andy Reid.
Yeah.
I mean, and I would, and I would give up multiple. I would give up multiple first-round picks to get him.
Would you trade? So clearly they need receivers and a running back. Would you trade away the receivers and the running backs that we have today, if that's something that they would be looking for, and leave Tampa without those weapons?
If they said, give us
DJ Moore, Roma
DJ
Dunze.
Moore. Well, no, I'm not going to give them all of them. No, but if they said, give me DJ Moore and DeAndre Swift.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got 2 guys at the bottom. Like, I wouldn't take that trade. I would no. Give me a Dunze, give me Komet, give me your young, good players.
Well, then no, I wouldn't do that. There's no way I would do that. But I mean, if they said, we'll give you Andy Reid for DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, and a draft pick or 2, I would seriously consider it.
I think that's the kind of offense DeAndre Swift would be a much better fit for, too.
Probably.
And you know what would happen, right? Anybody you trade as part of that goes on and has like Hall of Fame year.
Well, Mahomes would make DJ Moore a Hall of Famer. He
right.
would.
Well, yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. I wonder what Mahomes does without Andy Reid.
I was just going to say that. What would Mahomes look like with a different coach? I don't think we'll ever see that unless Andy Reid decides to retire. Because I don't know how old he is, but, as long as you got Patrick Mahomes around, I mean, why would you retire, right?
Yes. Well, maybe they could put together some sort of bundle and save deal, since they like State Farm so much. Put together something like that for a deal.
That's right.
Okay, so Andy Reid, probably not going to happen. What about the coaches that there's perception that they might be available? Let's say it's Shanahan. Let's say it's McVay. Who else would be in that list of potential trade targets?
Okay, well, if you're gonna Shanahan, McVay, depending on how the Ravens finish, I think John Harbaugh might be in that group. He's been there a long time. The Dolphins, Mike McDaniel, depending on how they finish, he might be available. Obviously Campbell's not going anywhere from Detroit. Obviously Matt LaFleur is not leaving Green Bay. O'Connell from Minnesota is not going anywhere. I'm just thinking of coaches in the NFC. I mean, Sean Payton's not going to leave Denver to come to Chicago.
And you got Bowden's there already. Why would he? Why would he?
Yeah, McDermott's not leaving Buffalo. Tomlin's not leaving Pittsburgh. Maybe. Well, what about Sirianni from Philadelphia?
I think he's. I don't know how Philly lets him go where the team is now and what they've accomplished over the last couple of years. Now, unless Sirianni's like, I want to get out of here, but I don't think that they would be able to. I think he's probably on that same tier of like Andy, probably unobtainable right now.
Obviously, to me, the two names that would make the most sense in this scenario are Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, because they're both on the record as to saying they love Caleb Williams. They think he is an extreme talent. And I'm sure those guys, being the masterminds that they are at offensive football, I'm sure those two would love to get their hands on him. I mean, look at the situation in St. Louis. Stafford's getting older. I don't know if they have a plan for after him. I don't know how much longer he's going to play. Purdy, while he's a good quarterback, I don't know how creative you can get with him as opposed to a guy like Caleb. I'm not saying Caleb's better than Purdy right now, but Caleb has the potential to be better, and you could probably do more with him. So, I think those two guys would make more sense in that scenario, but it would take a lot to get either one of them, I think. Unless they were let go. And I don't think, I don't think Shanahan's going to be let go for the reasons you've said, with injuries and things like that.
He's too good of a quarterback, and I think this year's a pass.
Yeah, I agree.
John Lynch even said, no, he's not going anywhere.
Right. And I don't see McVay being let go. I think he's too good, So
what does that leave us? That leaves us with offensive coordinators and coaches that are out of the league right now or college. Deion Sanders comes to town.
Well, does it have to be an offensive coach?
Doesn't have to be, I don't think, but you've got Caleb Williams. I think you'd rather have a really darn good plan or offense coordinator that you are 100% bringing with you if you're hiring a defensive coach.
Well, I did some research today. Since 2002, so we're talking, 22 years of football, offensive-minded head coaches have won 51% of the time. Defensive coaches have won 48% of the time. So in the grand scheme,
I'm shocked at, first of all, at those numbers, because I would expect the opposite. I would expect defensive head coaches to generally be better on a win percentage, only because defenses tend to be more consistent.
You would think. Now you've got, let's talk about present day. You've got 7 teams with 9 wins or more in the NFL right now. Okay. Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Philadelphia, Detroit, Minnesota, and Green Bay. I know 7 teams and 3 of them play in our division, of course. But, that's how it is. You've got McDermott in Buffalo. He's a defensive head coach. Tomlin is a defensive coach. Reed is an offensive coach. Sirianni is offense. Campbell is defense. O'Connell is offense, and LaFleur is offense. So again, it's basically split down the middle. So what that means to me is there really is no right answer in regards to getting an offensive guy or a defensive guy. It's getting the right guy, no matter what he does.
But how often do you have a generational talent at quarterback that you have to develop?
Not very.
Not very. Of all those coaches, which of the ones that are out there have taken a rookie quarterback that has been perceived as, let's say a top 5 or a top pick in the draft, and excelled with them.
Okay, well, let's go back to the list. McDermott, has he been there? He's been there for almost as long. I don't know when he got there versus when Josh Allen got there. I think it's pretty close. But he's a defensive guy. We know Tomlin's been at Pittsburgh forever, so he doesn't count. Reed has been there ever since Mahomes has been here, right? So you could say Reed is responsible for him. Sirianni, I don't know where he falls as far as Jalen Hurts goes, but they're probably pretty close. Campbell,
that's a tough one to evaluate because of the way that offense works. I mean, they've got a stud wide receiver in AJ Brown, like beast. They go off and they sign Saquon Barkley. They had an offensive line that was a beast already. Is Jalen Hurts a good quarterback, or is he just the right quarterback for that system?
Great question.
I don't see him as a 4,000-yard passer, right?
No, I don't
see him
either.
as kind of a do-it-all gadget kind of player. Not gadget in a derogatory way, but kind of fits wherever he needs to be, right? He leads the league in rushing touchdowns because of the stupid tush push play that nobody can stop, right? Stuff like that.
Kansas City just kicked the winning field goal and he banged it off the upright and in. Unbelievable.
Yes. See, there you go. Like I said, the opposite of the Chicago Bears are your Kansas City Chiefs.
Unbelievable. But anyway, yeah. Okay, well, back to what we're talking about. So Jared Goff obviously has been in the league for a while. Dan Campbell is a defensive coach. Jared Goff has been on record saying many times that Dan Campbell's the best leader that he's ever played for, ever. And this is a guy who came from Sean McVay's offense in St. Louis. So you could say that Campbell, and I guess you obviously put Ben Johnson as part of this too, but those guys are responsible for the resurgence of Jared Goff's career, right?
Okay.
Minnesota, Kevin O'Connell, look what he's done with Sam Darnold this year.
Yep.
And then you got LaFleur.
So quick aside, how bad are the New York Jets when they have had Geno Smith and Sam Darnold come out of that organization over the last, 10 years? And Geno Smith currently leads the league in passing yards. And Sam Darnold's having a career resurrecting year, I think, this year with Minnesota. Meanwhile, you've got Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, and they lost again. In overtime,
they lost again, baby. And they are officially eliminated from the playoffs for, I believe, the 14th year in a row. And what did Aaron Rodgers say in the postgame? I've only started for this team for 1 year.
It's not about him.
He is such a douchebag. I'm sorry.
He's a cancer.
He is so, oh my God. He needs to leave the sport and go crawl into a hole because he is awful.
Well, so we bag on the Bears a lot with how they've handled their draft pick quarterbacks, but look at the Jets, man. They suck too.
They do. So, crazy. Plus, and it's like the Bears have gone back and forth on head coaches too with offense and defense. I mean, Eberflus was defense. Nagy was offense. Fox was defense. Trestman was offense. Lovey was defense. Duran was defense. Wadstead was defense. And Ditka was offense. So they've gone, back and forth trying to figure out as well. So again, I think it's just about getting the right guy. And I just hope they interview everybody under the sun in order to do that.
I expect them to. I mean, like you said, I think it's the premier coaching position in the NFL that's going to be available this year. And I think the one thing that screws it up is the organization itself.
Yes.
Like, I don't think it's like it's not like the players or, there's not talent on the roster or things like that. I think it comes down to, is this an organization that a bona fide premium head coach wants to work for or with, depending on how you look at it. With the McCaskies there, what, I mean,
I can't imagine
what do they bring to the table?
I mean, and we'll get to Chicago ownership and stuff in a second, but because I got stuff for that too. But this should be anybody in their right mind in the world of football should want this job and should be able to succeed in this job. This is Chicago. The fans just love this team more than anything, I don't get it. I don't understand what the plague that's been placed on this team is. Where does it come from? I mean, are the McCaskies bad people? Did they somehow limit the Bears' capability on what they could do? Do they just hire stupid people? I don't get it. What is preventing the Bears from getting somebody that can do this job effectively?
Yeah, me, man. I think if we knew, we wouldn't have this problem to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone points to the ownership and, wanting to get rid of the McCaskey family and have it be sold. That doesn't guarantee that there's any positive spin or move at that point. Some other rich bastard comes in and buys the team and screws it up. Look at what happened with the knucklehead in Carolina, Tepper, right? He totally screws up the whole organization because he thinks he's playing fantasy football.
Yeah, I mean, and you could say some of that about Jerry Jones in Dallas as well. I mean, you know, it's when the owner runs the team, and the owner tries to be the GM and stuff. It's like that hinders your progress a little bit, and he thinks he knows everything, and they have yet to win anything.
Yeah,
in a long time,
40 years.
Yeah.
All right, you mentioned Chicago ownership. What do you got?
Okay, so to shift gears a little bit, I don't know if you saw this. The Blackhawks fired their head coach 3 days ago.
Did see the headline of it, yep.
So it got me thinking, since October 10th of 2023, there have been 8 professional franchises in Chicago that have fired their head coach. 8. That is in order. In order. You ready? The Chicago Red Stars, which is the women's professional soccer team. The Cubs, the Chicago Wolves, which is a minor league hockey team. The White Sox, the Chicago Sky, which is the WNBA team here. The Chicago Fire, which is the men's professional soccer team here. The Bears, and now the Blackhawks. The only one who has survived is the Bulls coach, Billy Donovan, who's been the coach here for 5 years.
Wow, he's like the old man now.
I know. And I'm sure if you talk to many Bulls fans, he should probably be gone too.
Get rid of him too, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you might. Yeah, might as well. But how unbelievable is that? That is less than 14 months.
That's all
this town. Yeah.
Well, who's the Cubs head coach right now, or manager?
Now it's Craig Counsell.
But he came on within the last year or two?
Yeah, he was hired. They fired David Ross and hired Craig Counsell on the same day, November 6th of 2023. So
right, well,
it's just
maybe it's a Chicago thing. maybe we got to send like Portillo's gift baskets out to people and say, look, we got this.
What is the big black cloud over our sports teams that they have crappy leadership? I don't understand it. And obviously, if I had the answer, I'd give it to you. I don't know. I don't know why. And I know in professional sports, coaches are hired to get fired. They all get fired eventually. Very rarely do they retire on their own. But my God, I mean, you've got 8 out of 9 of the pro sports teams here in the city that have changed hands in the last 14 months. That's crazy to me. Never seen anything like it.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, first of all, the sheer number of firings, but for it to happen in a market where you have this many professional teams to begin with, there's not that many markets that could support that many teams. And for them to all have turnover except for one, that's nuts.
It's insane. It is absolutely insane. But hopefully, these teams can figure it out. Obviously, the Bears have a long road ahead. The Blackhawks have a long road ahead. The White Sox probably have the longest road ahead. The Cubs have some work to do. I don't really follow the Red Stars or the Fire or the Sky or, the Wolves, but obviously coaches were fired for a reason, so I'm sure they all have long roads ahead as well. And the Bulls are stuck in basketball hell, as we've talked about. So, they'll be middle of the road for what seems like ever.
I mean, I think basketball is the one that is the easiest to recover from, because all you need is that one break to get that one superstar. And once you've got the one superstar, your team becomes a lot better. And once you've got one superstar, you can attract other superstars to come play.
You
You need
can, but
2 to 3 to consistently win a championship.
the most difficult is getting the first one.
Exactly. But if they stop long enough, they'll have enough bites at the apple of high draft picks.
Well,
You have to think at least one of those will hit at some point, right? I think the last one that hit for us would have been Derrick Rose.
Yeah,
And they were on the upswing, and then he tore up his knee.
Yeah, and how long ago was that? I mean, we're
it set the
almost
franchise back 10 years, because
Yeah, exactly.
he was there, 4 or 5 years, hurt his knee, and then really wasn't the same after that. And, it's not like they immediately declined, but it's just that.
No, obviously they went downhill. I mean, Rose was, he was a great story. Obviously went to high school here in Chicago, then went out to Memphis, and then came back and, led them to the playoffs. I mean, youngest NBA MVP ever. Unfortunately, will go down. It's probably the only MVP not to make the Hall of Fame, which is disappointing for him.
But he had a good NBA career. I mean, and what?
Oh, he had a very good career. I think
years,
he played,
but it was never. He never returned to form. Right? He was a good role player off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, played for a lot of teams. But yeah, he'll be a what could have been.
Yeah, and that happens. It's a sad and unfortunate truth of any professional sports is injuries are part of the game, and that's why I think people are so concerned about Caleb Williams getting sacked 56 times. I mean, he's 56 times. You're right. That's not the key to prolonged health to your first-year generational quarterback.
No, and the Blackhawks are a very similar situation. They've got they drafted their generational player last year in Connor Bedard, young kid, 19, supposed to be the next Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid type player. The fear is that will the city of Chicago ruin him because they don't put enough around him, and that's the fear for Caleb, that they don't put enough around him to protect him. Obviously these sports are team games, but when you have potential star players, you have to build around them.
Okay.
So,
that's why it's so important to get this right with whoever this next coach is, because
100%. 100%. So
I'm looking at the playoff pictures, and the Bears are technically not eliminated yet. They have a 1% chance to make the playoffs.
Well, yeah, I think I read that their draft position right now is number 9. Yeah, believe it or not, even with only 4 wins, there are still 8 teams in a worse position than they are, which is kind of crazy this late in the year. But the latest mock I saw had them taking a tackle out of Texas, which would be great. That's what they need. They need multiple offensive linemen if they can find them. They need, we talked about it. I think they need a safety. They need maybe a corner. They need defensive linemen. They need offensive linemen. So there's just a lot of stuff that they need.
But you could just say, what don't they need? Quarterback,
right?
A wide receiver,
receiver, probably a linebacker. They don't need that yet, but there's just a lot of stuff that they do need. There's some decisions to make at the end of the year, because obviously we talked about Keenan Allen being on a 1-year deal. I think Kevin Byard at their safety, they only signed him to a 1-year deal. There'll be some cuts at the end of the year of guys that just aren't performing. So, again, a lot of decisions to make. It's gonna be a long off season, man.
It'll be an interesting one, though, because hopefully we'll continue to see Caleb Williams progress. And then what are, with a season under your belt and an off season, and a new potential head coach, assuming Thomas Brown doesn't get it, what do they do? I think it's going to be interesting. The draft will be interesting. Off season with free agency will be interesting. There'll be a lot of pressure on the Bears to get it right.
For sure. And this town's gonna put it under the microscope like crazy. I mean, they've got a lot of fans that pay attention to this team, and you can lose them in quick fashion if they don't get this right. So,
well, it's always entertaining to read the Reddit game threads and things like that, because it's all doom and gloom all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
it's before the game starts, there's a couple people who are like, all right, this is it, right? They're the optimists in it. And then the game starts, and then everybody just turns pessimistic. It's the worst team ever, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, they go 3-and-out. No, the Bears suck. It's the same old Bears. We're going to get nothing today. And Caleb stinks. We should have drafted Daniels. And it's the same crap over and over and over again.
Yeah, have we learned nothing? Blah, blah, blah. So,
yeah. But again, until we get a positive result, you're going to see it. You're going to see it a lot. And turning pessimistic Bear fans into optimistic Bears fans and understanding Bears fans is hard. They want the result now. They want to win now. They want to go to the playoffs now because they're tired of it. They don't understand that, hey, it's still just because you draft the quarterback, it might take a year or two or even 3 to get there. But, we want it now.
Well, today's loss brings them down to the 11th time out of 12 seasons that they will have a non-winning record. So congratulations to the Bears and the decade of not even mediocrity, sub-mediocrity of losers.
It's just sad. I wish I had other things to say about it, but there really isn't much else to say other than the fact that it's sad. It sucks.
Yeah. Well, all right. I think we beat that horse, beat that bear to death at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. Hoping,
what else do you want to talk about?
For better things. Well, huge news actually that just went down roughly about 2 hours ago. So
okay.
We've hit on baseball free agency a little bit and the amount of money that is now being thrown around in Major League Baseball. So I believe I told you that I know you're not a big baseball guy, but Juan Soto was the biggest free agent on the market this year. I think I mentioned that a couple weeks ago. So he has just recently agreed about 2 hours ago to a 15-year, $765 million contract with the New York Mets.
Now, we've talked $65 million. What the fuck, man?
Now, none of that is deferred money, because we've talked about deferred money with the Dodgers, okay, and how they operate. And other teams have some deferred contracts too. But this contract has no deferred money whatsoever. So he is being paid a straight $51 million a year. And if you want to really break it down, over 162 game season, he is being paid a hair over $317,000 per game.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We're in the wrong business, man. Why don't we become professional athletes again?
Jeff, I tried. I flamed out in high school. I tried. I couldn't get there.
15 years. Looks like there's a 5-year opt-out. Is that he can opt out or the Mets can opt out after 5 years?
If there's a 5-year opt-out, he can most likely opt out.
But when can the Mets cut him?
The Mets,
they have an ability to cut him?
The only way they would have the ability to cut him, if there was a team option for him to, they could opt out of the contract, and I highly doubt there is.
So 15 years, 765, 5-year opt-out. But if he doesn't opt out, his deal goes up $4 million per year. So this means that it could be more than $800 million by the time it's all done.
Yes, I was going to say there are some escalators in there, and I didn't have the details back 2 hours ago, but apparently they're out there now. That could take the contract over $800 million. So he is.
That's fucked up, man. Pardon my French, but that's fucked up.
No, I know, it's crazy. He just turned 26 in October. He's been in the MLB since he was 19. Here's what kills me. All right. Juan Soto, great player. Don't get me wrong. He's a great player. Career 285 hitter, on base 421, slugging 569. By Major League standards, that's very good. But nobody's freaking worth that kind of money, man. Nobody. And this is a case where you've got an ultimately rich owner in Steve Cohen in New York who could buy any player he wants. He's tried to do it before, but nobody wanted to go to the Mets to go, because the Mets have never done anything. It's kind of like in basketball. You get that one superstar, and then you hope to follow it up with everybody else. And that's kind of what the Dodgers have done over the years. This is the Mets' first real everyday player superstar, okay? Yeah, they had Pete Alonso, but obviously he wasn't enough. This guy is enough to carry a team. But again, $765 million. That is just asinine. And, and the fact that they don't have to defer any of it. They have to defer none of it. I mean, Dodgers are deferring contracts left and right. Dodgers right now have over $1 billion in deferred contracts. Deferred over 2028 through 2046 that they owe. I think it's 7 players over $1 billion in that time frame. Okay.
I think we talked about this before, but that money's got to be like in an escrow account or something, right? Nobody in their right mind is going to be like, "Oh, I'm glad you, pay you, give me the hamburger today and I'll pay you on Thursday." Like that's not how professional sports work.
Okay, so I looked up what a deferred salary in baseball. What are the rules behind it, right? So deferred salary apparently has to be funded by the team a year and a half after the year it's deferred. Okay. So you at least have to have that money declared and, kind of labeled to that salary within a year and a half of the season that you're deferring it from. Does that make sense? Like,
yes. Okay. But when you say year and a half, meaning post signing, post year?
Yes.
Or pre-year?
So they signed, no, post. So they signed Shohei Ohtani in 2024, the 2024 season. His first deferred amount is $68 million. They have to, he's deferring $680 million over 10 years. So they have to defer $68 million per year. That starts in 2026. Okay? In July of 2026, mid-season of 2026, they have to have $68 million allocated to pay Shohei Ohtani. Now, they don't have to pay him yet. What they're allowed to do is invest that money. So it can get thrown in some sort of an investment account, escrow account, whatever it needs to do to where it can grow. And then the team can then take any profit from that, keep it, use it to pay other players, throw it into the team's, operating funds that they use to operate the team. So they use that deferred money to essentially help make more money for the team, if that makes sense. And then they'll pay the player down the road.
So throw it into a high yield savings account, make 5% on it. Just let it sit there and pay for your bench or your farm system.
Yeah. So in a way, it kind of is, you play for me today and I'll gladly pay you on Tuesday. That kind of thing.
But the money is there, though. What would concern me as a player is, are you good for it in 10 years? And yeah, the odds are a team like that, yes. But
yes,
I wouldn't want to gamble
like
10
Dodgers,
years of, they'll be around, but, some small market teams, changing owners and maybe they do a contraction of the league or whatever it may be. Do they stick around? I don't know.
But that's a great question. Obviously, every team has I don't want to say the ability to do this. Every team it's well within their right to do it. Can every team cover that kind of thing? Can the Tampa Bay Rays or the Pittsburgh Pirates or Colorado Rockies, can they go defer $1 billion worth of salaries and aren't going to start to be paid for another 4 or 5 years over the next 20 years? Probably not. But a team like the Dodgers can do that because they have this huge financial investment firm backing their team as part of the ownership that they can, work their way through that kind of thing. And you're going to see the Dodgers probably just do this until the end of time. That's just how they're going to operate, Is it fair?
They're a bunch of bankers running a baseball team.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, is it fair? Some would say yes, because it's within the rules. Some would say no, because not every team can do it. It'll be interesting to see when they go to renegotiate the collective bargaining agreement of baseball between the players and the owners, in 2026, how that comes to play, like where that comes into play. Because there are going to be some owners that say, no, it's not fair. Because obviously when you're good and you make the playoffs, you win the World Series, all that kind of thing, you're obviously bringing in even more money. You get playoff shares, you get more, more games at your stadiums, there's just more income coming in. So yeah, a lot of teams would like to have more. They just can't get there. They can't get there player-wise. They can't get there with wins, and they just can't get there with the revenue. So
if you took that $68 million and you just stuck it into a high-yield savings account, nothing fancy, just a plain old savings account, 5% interest, that's $3.4 million just for having the money in there.
Yeah.
That's it. You're not even investing it. It's just sitting there in that savings account.
Yeah. Okay. What if you took that 68 million and threw it into the next Bitcoin?
Right. Well, that's some professional players have done that.
I know. Think about that some players were smart enough to take salaries in Bitcoin, and look where they're at now. So,
well, yes and no, because it crashed a year ago. It's up big time this year, for sure.
It did.
But if you took a Bitcoin salary, let's say 5 years ago, you lost a lot of money.
You did. I mean,
and now you've got it back if you kept it.
Not many athletes were able to take their entire salaries in Bitcoin, but they took part of it because and these are not athletes that are taking their first professional contracts in Bitcoin. I think Odell Beckham Jr. took.
Yeah, he's the one I was thinking of.
I think he took the year he played for the Rams in Bitcoin, and that was after he was in the league for how many years? I mean, he already had the money that he'd be set for life, right?
Yeah. Well, hopefully he held on to it because it's up big time over the last year.
Yeah, I mean it passed $100,000 this week.
Yeah.
So crazy. I did not get in on the Bitcoin craze. I don't know if you did, but I did not.
I have a little bit. I invested a while back and then stopped and then just kind of let it sit there. So I'm ahead, which is good, but I'm not rich.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. No, I have a guy that one of my customers tried to talk me into it a few years ago, and I was like, "Yeah, I think you're nuts. I don't know what you're talking about." And well, who's nuts now?
Yeah. Right.
Well,
so, I mean, it's so volatile too. It's
is
definitely money that you have to be willing to let go because it changes literally by the second. Like I'm watching it right now and it's lost $30 in the last 3 seconds that we were talking.
Well, because it trades 24 hours a day. So I mean, you could go to bed at night and have it be worth $100,000 and wake up and be worth 50.
Right.
So yeah, you never know. I mean, it could crash at 3:30 in the morning and you never know it. So
if you're going to invest in Bitcoins, right, or crypto, make sure you invest in a well-known, not Hawk Tua coins or whatever bullshit is out there, right?
Yeah, I think that young lady's in trouble from what I hear.
Maybe, I don't know. If you put all your money into Hawk Tua coins, you're an idiot to begin with. And you probably shouldn't have had that money to start with.
But from what I understand, she somehow got $50 million worth put into it, and now it's all gone. And yeah, that's a problem. So
yes. Well, down another $25 as we're just talking here too. So
yeah,
Bitcoin crashing as we speak.
Well, the funny thing is though, if you're an active trader and really know what you're doing, you can make money like crazy on that thing if you're willing to sit there and just watch it and see the trends. And if you know how to short stuff and then buy, sell at the right times, it's like you can make money hand over fist doing that. You really got to know what you're doing.
Smarter than I am. Sure.
Yeah. Don't come to us for investment advice. Let's put it that way.
Right. Not a doctor, not legal, not fiduciary, none of that stuff.
No,
we don't know
wish.
Shit.
No, I wish I was. But I am not. So
what else you got?
Yeah, no, there's it's not a whole lot. I mean, this Bears team just pisses me off, man. It just makes me upset, and I just wish they were better. They're so frustrating to watch. Me and my guys at work, we talk about this team constantly throughout the week. What if they did this? They need this. We were talking about the coach. We were talking about, who they should get, and then we get all excited. It's our Sunday afternoon activity, and we're texting back and forth during the game. And like today, it was just over before it started. I mean, Jesus Christ,
Is there something freeing about that? Would you rather have a game like today where it was immediately a blowout, right? It wasn't going to happen, or a game like we've had the last few years or last few weeks where it's come down to, last second plays, but they still lose those games.
Well, in the fashion that they've lost, that's been on the coaches, right? They could at least execute plays. They could score points. They haven't had a whole lot of luck lately, but they could stop people. Today, they couldn't do anything. They couldn't do any of that. They couldn't stop an NFL offense to save their life. They couldn't. Again, we couldn't block anybody. So today's loss was on the field versus losses in the past that have been one play or stupidity on the sideline. Today's loss was 100% strictly on the field due to the players. So that's what's frustrating.
Players got to play, coaches got to coach, and GM's got a GM.
That's true. That's true.
And fans got a fan, right? We can bitch about it as much as we want and make our voices heard. Don't attend games, right? If you keep going while they're losing, there's no incentive financially for them to make a change.
There really isn't. I mean, look, I am a diehard sports fan. I moved here into Chicago when I was 4. Lived here basically ever since. I've grown up with these teams: the Sox, the Cubs, the Bears, the Bulls, the Hawks. Those 5 teams have been my life for the better part of almost 50 years. Now, I've seen them all win at some point, which has been great, okay? So I can't complain too much. But what I can't say is they haven't sustained it at all. Yes, the Bulls did it for, 6 out of 8 years. But that's 6 out of 8 years in their entire franchise. We just happen to catch them at the right time. I want a team that's competitive every year. I know that's next to impossible, but Jesus, I just want the team to show effort. I mean, Christ, my White Sox, man. Okay, talking about a $765 million contract for Juan Soto. That is $690 million more than the largest contract that my White Sox have ever signed. The Dodgers signed their utility guy who doesn't even really have a primary position on the team. He kind of plays when guys get hurt or guys need a day off. He can play. I'm talking about Tommy Edman. He could play shortstop, second base, center field, left field, whatever. The Dodgers signed him for 5 years and $76 million. $1 million more than the most the White Sox have ever spent in 100+ years of being a franchise. That's what pisses me off, and that's what's frustrating, that we can't compete on the level that we should compete on. I'm sorry, in my opinion, the Cubs should have been in this Soto thing. I know it's a lot of money, I get it, but the Cubs didn't even show interest. The Cubs should operate like a major market team, in my opinion. They have the money. They've always had the money. They just refuse to spend it. So that's what's frustrating. And maybe it's jealousy. Maybe it's, I wish we had that. I wish we had what the Mets have. I wish we had what the Dodgers have. I wish we could put together what the Chiefs have put together. We don't have that here anywhere in any of our teams. And that really sucks for a diehard sports fan like me.
Well, no, when that changes is new ownership. It's not like the ownership we have today is going to wake up tomorrow and change. They are who they are.
Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, all of our teams are owned by, families. The Reinsdorfs own the Bulls and the White Sox. The Ricketts own the Cubs. The McCaskies own the Bears. The Wirtz family owns the Hawks. So it usually comes down to one or two old, stubborn, think they know it all owners that refuse to change with the times. And that's what happens. I think I think Tom Ricketts with the Cubs, he won his one World Series and is satisfied with that. Reinsdorf, once he won his one championship with the White Sox, he's satisfied with that. The McCaskies, I just don't think are smart enough to figure it out. I really don't. Back to the Reinsdorfs, they won their titles with the Bulls, and they seem to be satisfied with that. And then the Wirtz family, they won their cups with the Hawks. They seem to be satisfied with that. So you should, as a sports owner, as a sports owner and a sports executive, you should never be satisfied. Good teams, good franchise.
Here's the thing, though, right? Is they're required. You can't have a team, except for the Packers, really, I guess, that is owned by the public and have that level of success, because you won't get the entire, like, if it's by committee, committee, it's just not going to happen. So what is the incentive for any of the Chicago ownership groups to put a good team on the field or court or whatever it may be? What is their incentive? Other than pride, the only other incentive is financial.
Right. Well, I think Sox fans have shown that if you put a product on the field, they'll go to the game. Right now, they're not going to the games because when they go, they see shit.
The product sucks.
Yeah, the product is terrible. The Cubs...
Meanwhile, you got the Cubs. Everyone goes to those games no matter what is happening.
The Cubs could be, 160 or 60 and 100. They'll still sell out all the time. So there's a great example of what's the incentive. You look at the Bulls, they're in the top 3 in attendance usually every year, regardless of their record. So the income is there. Hawks, they're kind of up and down. When the team is good, people go. When the team sucks, they don't. The Bears ticket is very difficult to still get in this town. It's very hard. So it takes, again, I think it goes back to pride that, owners, usually successful people in life, at least I've run into, they're successful because at the level they compete in their field, they compete to win. And I think a lot of the owners in our town, unfortunately, feel like they're at the top and they're satisfied. Hey, we've made our money. We're making money. What else is there? What else is there in life outside of what's down deep, the want to win?
There you go.
And I don't know the answer. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how you change that without selling the teams.
Right. You sell a team, then you hope that you get somebody who falls more on the pride side of wanting to have a good team. Yes, it needs to be, financially stable, right? It would be kind of stupid to not do that. But to, field a good product on whatever court you're playing on, or grass, or whatever it may be. Sure.
But I'll also put it on the fans. If you really want change, stop going.
Yeah. Stop going. Stop watching. Stop listening.
Yeah.
Here we are. We watched the game today.
I know. Your biggest voice is your dollar, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Stop feeding the beast. Stop giving them your money. Force their hand. Force them to change. It's it's basic supply and demand. We're supplying them with everything they want, so they can do whatever the hell they want to do with it, right?
Anarchy. Don't go to any more games anywhere ever. Go to the library instead.
Here's another example of something crazy. The Oakland Athletics, they're pulling out of Oakland, right? They're moving to Vegas. So what do? They sign a deal to play, I think it's for 2 years, maybe 3, in Sacramento, California, while their new stadium's being built. But what do they do this offseason? For the first time in a long time, they go sign a guy for $67 million over 3 years. They haven't done that forever. Yeah, exactly. It's like, wow, where was this when the team was in Oakland? That kind of thing. So sports ownership is nuts. Every one of them are different. They all have they all say they want to win, but I think they all have different agendas and reasons for what they do. And, I really deep down don't think they all want to win.
Yeah. Well, I think too, it's, you're talking about the ultra rich if you're owning a sports team, and it might be a hobby, or it might be just a thing that you've collected as part of your, capitalism Thanos ring, whatever that looks like. I got a boat, I got a plane. Yeah, let's go buy a football team or a basketball team or whatever it may be.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And maybe it makes money, and that's fine. Like, oh, this is just another way for me to make money.
Well, to them, it's a business. I mean, to us, it's how
life.
we spend our free time. Yeah, it's
right.
life. It's how we spend our free time. It's how we get through the day. To them, it's a business.
Now, I wonder if we go back in Roman times, or like when we had gladiators, right? Like sports are sort of like modern day gladiators. No matter what sport it is, you can kind of draw the line to that. Where there are ownership groups back then, and were people pissed off about, Maximus, oh my gosh, what do you mean he got that kind of, treatment? And of course, these owners, are pieces of shit or whatever, right? Is this a story as old as time, or is this something that is really more of a modern thing? I don't know.
I don't know, but all I do know is, or at least from what I could tell, is from way back then when the players sucked, they killed them. So
maybe there's a lesson to be learned there.
Yeah, maybe. So there were no unions back there. There were no, obviously, agents or, obviously big money deals and all that kind of stuff. So, obviously times have changed, but maybe they're more the same than we know. I don't know.
I'd like to see the way that soccer does, like relegation and things like that. I think that'd be interesting to try. And the major sports like this, where if you have teams that are consistently bad, they bump down a league, and then teams that are consistently good at that level, at that lower league, they have a chance to rise up into the next league, right? I think that's a really interesting way to approach it. And maybe there's something there that we could do for like NFL or NBA or NHL or MLB.
Definitely something different. Absolutely. It does keep teams, from kind of becoming just status quo. It does keep them wanting to be competitive and
you can still cheer for your team, and maybe they'll never be good enough to get to a higher league. But theoretically, they will be playing teams that are really more their peers versus superstars. Right?
Well, soccer's in that sense very strange, because you got that going on. You've got teams, you can rent players from other teams that aren't playing. Different leagues go on at different times during the year. Teams or players kind of play for two teams at once because you're on loan, and it's very confusing to me. But in a way, it's very interesting how international soccer works. So,
I mean, it's the world's most popular sport, and
it is.
Those guys make money, that's for sure.
Yes, they do. Yeah,
you look at Messi. Are rabid, just like anything else. So
yeah, you look at David Beckham, what the career he had, and Messi and Ronaldo. Yeah, they're living large, big time. Yeah, the Beckham documentary on Netflix is really good. If you ever come across that, I think it's a 4 or 5 parter. Pretty good.
Let's check it out. I haven't seen it yet.
His life and outside of soccer and his development growing up and things like that. And yeah, he's had quite the life.
No, nobody bends it like Beckham.
No. So yeah, pretty wild.
Hour 18. It's 11 p.m. Central Time. I've been flying all day. I got a conference to be at this week. I'm up late for me, so I gotta turn to a pumpkin soon. You check out any music that I recommended last week?
I did not. I need to.
Homework for you then. I don't have to come up with a list.
Homework for me. Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll go back to my notes and go through the stuff.
I listened to Rabbit's Revenge on the plane again. I was like, I wonder if Jay listened to it yet.
I will this week. I didn't have a whole lot of opportunities to do the music thing. I was busy with work this week and just doing other stuff. I did finally rake the final leaves in my yard that I've been meaning to do for like a month now. It actually got to 50 degrees here yesterday, so it was a perfect day to do it, or else those things were down for the winter, and that would have been a mess to clean up in the spring, so I got that done.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So yay me. Yay me.
Yay you. Well, I'm on my last trip of the year, so I'm back Thursday. Nice. I'm going to go see Mike Birbiglia. I'm going to land at the airport in Nashville and then go from there to Harrah's, whatever, in downtown Nashville to see Mike Birbiglia perform.
Very nice. He's hysterical.
He's good. Yeah, he's really good. Yeah, so if you like comedy, Mike Birbiglia is good. We unfortunately missed David Cross because he was supposed to perform when the hurricane hit. So that got canceled. And then we saw Nate Bargatze, I think it was earlier this year as well.
Yeah, he's another one. He's really good.
He's really good. Yeah.
He's good. What's the dude's name? Sebastian Maniscalco. He's good.
I don't know. My wife likes it a lot. I can't stand his delivery. I think it's such an over-affected Italian thing that just it rubs me the wrong way.
It's definitely an act because let me preface this by saying I don't watch The Tonight Show on a regular basis. I'm not a Jimmy Fallon guy. I don't Fallon, Kimmel. I don't watch any of those guys. They bug me. But I did catch an interview with Fallon that Sebastian did. I think it was last year, and it's funny because it's like Jimmy would ask him a question, and he could actually like talk normal, and then he would kind of go into his act talk, and there was definitely a distinct difference. I think the guy's entertaining, but it is definitely, I don't want to say scripted, but it's more of an act versus a Nate Bargatze who's just basically talking about his life, and he delivers it because the guy's funny because most of the time he's making fun of himself, which is actually pretty funny. Or he's making fun of just everyday stuff that comes along in life. And you could sit there and listen to him and be like, yeah, I do that. Or yeah, that's me. I've done that. That kind of thing.
The best comedians are the best storytellers as well.
Yes.
There's different styles of comedy. It's, one-liners, there's the storytellers, right? Things like that. And the ones that I like the best are the ones that are storytellers. I think Stan Bargatze is a good one like that. Jim Gaffigan's another good one. He has a new stand-up special on Hulu, which we watched last night.
Yes.
Which was good. Kind of lost us about midway through because it's very much more about parenting, and that's not something that my wife or I have any thing with, but then it catches at the end as well. So that's good.
Say, guys,
like Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah, Jim Gaffigan and Nate Bargatze, those are guys you can relate to, right? For the most part. And again, it's where you say, yeah, that's me, or oh yeah, that's come to mind, that kind of thing. So
yes, we do like that.
Yeah, right. So
all right, cool. Well, I'm gonna call it a night, and
all right, man.
We'll talk again next week
after next week's debacle.
Yeah, who are we playing next week? Vikings. Any predictions?
I don't know how you could predict the Bears to win anything, to be honest with you. I know you got to go. I just want Caleb to play well. That's really all I care about at this point. Does Caleb Williams play well?
Development.
Yeah. Yes.
I want to see him throw for 250 and 2 touchdowns with a decent percentage. That's what I want to see. I want to see him consistently in that area.
And keep the interception list streak alive.
I want to see turnovers. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I think he could definitely be more aggressive with things.
Yes,
and maybe as he gets more confidence, he does that.
Yeah, we've seen it. He's got the arm. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but he still has tough with those deep balls. I mean, he overthrew another one today. It's like,
I know.
On, you had him. All right.
Yeah, but again, DJ had a drop, Keenan had a drop, Cole had a drop. Got to catch it. So,
yeah.
All right, man.
I'll talk to you next. Talk to you next week.
Have a good one.
All right. See ya.
See ya.